People trust alcohol myths the way people trust weather forecasts and expired coupons. People have believed weird things about alcohol for generations. Some came from old movies, some from friends at barbecues, and some probably started because one guy said, "Trust me, bro," back in 1987 and nobody questioned it. The strange part? Many of these myths are still alive today, casually floating around family dinners and weekend parties like they're ancient wisdom carved into stone tablets. Before we continue, if you enjoy bizarre facts, weird myths, and discovering how humanity keeps confidently making things up, join our Telegram community. The link is waiting in the description below. Come hang out with people who also enjoy watching common sense fight for survival. Now grab your favorite drink, prepare to question things you've heard your entire life, and let's begin. 1. Coffee doesn't magically turn you sober. Somewhere along the timeline of human civilization, people collectively decided that coffee possesses supernatural powers. The logic seems simple enough. Alcohol makes you sleepy, coffee wakes you up, therefore, coffee cancels alcohol. That's the kind of math that only sounds brilliant after 3 beers. Picture the classic movie scene. Someone leaves a party completely exhausted from drinking, and suddenly a friend appears with a cup of black coffee like they're delivering emergency medicine. 5 minutes later, everyone acts like this person has returned from the dead with fully restored operating software. But your body doesn't work like customer service, where you can simply cancel an order after you've changed your mind. Alcohol doesn't suddenly pack its bags and leave because caffeine walked into the room. Coffee may wake your brain up a little, but the alcohol is still sitting there doing its job. That's actually the dangerous part. People feel more alert and suddenly think they're operating at genius level again. Meanwhile, their reaction time is still moving through life like a Windows computer from 1998 trying to open 6 browser tabs at once. Coffee doesn't remove alcohol, it just gives drunk people confidence, and history has repeatedly shown that drunk confidence rarely ends well. 2. Beer before liquor doesn't save you. Human beings love magical formulas. We have secret diets, productivity hacks, and somehow we also created drinking equations. One of the most famous is this: beer before liquor, never been sicker. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. People repeat it with complete confidence too. Someone at a party says it like they're revealing hidden knowledge passed down through generations of wise alcohol monks living on a mountain somewhere. But your body isn't standing there with a clipboard checking the order of drinks like a nightclub security guard. Imagine eating 3 cheeseburgers, 4 slices of pizza, and an entire cake, then arguing that everything is fine because you ate the salad first. Your stomach doesn't care about your sequence. It cares about the total damage entering the building. The real problem usually isn't the order. It's that people who start with beer often feel relaxed and think they're handling things perfectly. Then suddenly someone says, "Let's do shots." And now things have entered what scientists probably call the bad decisions phase. People don't get sick because beer and liquor started fighting inside their stomachs like action movie enemies. They get sick because eventually somebody says, "One more won't hurt." And historically speaking, those words have probably caused more suffering than any ancient curse. 3. Sweating doesn't remove alcohol faster. This myth sounds like something invented by a guy who really didn't want to wait. Somebody drinks too much, realizes tomorrow is important, and suddenly becomes a fitness expert. "Don't worry," they say. "I'll just sweat it out." Now picture the scene. It's 2 in the morning. A guy who can barely walk straight suddenly decides he's entering athlete mode. He's doing jumping jacks in his living room while looking like a confused flamingo learning yoga. The idea feels believable because sweating makes people feel like toxins are escaping. We see sweat pouring down and think our body is cleaning itself like a self-washing car. Unfortunately, alcohol doesn't care about your emergency workout plan. Your liver processes alcohol at its own pace. Not your pace, not gym pace, not panic pace. Trying to exercise your way to sobriety is like standing next to a microwave and yelling at popcorn to cook faster. You may feel productive, but absolutely nothing important is changing. The only thing intense exercise does while drunk is create the possibility of becoming tomorrow's embarrassing story. Because there are few things more tragic than waking up with a hangover and discovering you also somehow injured your shoulder trying to outrun chemistry. 4. Eating bread doesn't absorb alcohol like a sponge. This myth has survived for decades because bread looks innocent and helpful. Somewhere in history, somebody saw a drunk friend eating a sandwich and decided they'd discovered a scientific breakthrough. Quick, get him bread! Suddenly, bread transformed from ordinary food into emergency alcohol armor. The mental image almost makes sense. You imagine slices of bread entering your stomach and heroically soaking up alcohol like giant kitchen sponges cleaning up a spill. Maybe in your head, tiny pieces of toast are running around with mops and buckets trying to save the day. Sadly, your stomach isn't a flooded basement. Food can slow alcohol absorption if you eat before or while drinking, but once alcohol is already cruising through your system, that sandwich isn't launching a rescue mission. The train already left the station, yet people still attack late-night food after drinking like they're competing in an eating championship. Entire pizzas disappear. Burgers vanish without evidence. Taco places suddenly become sacred ground. Then morning arrives and reality delivers its little surprise. Because now you're not just waking up with a hangover, you're waking up with a hangover and the feeling that someone secretly stored a bowling ball inside your stomach overnight. 5. Expensive alcohol doesn't automatically mean fewer hangovers. Human beings have an incredible ability to convince themselves expensive things are magical. We do it with cars, watches, coffee machines, and apparently alcohol too. Somebody pays a lot for a fancy bottle and immediately transforms into a beverage philosopher. "Oh no," they say while holding a glass dramatically. "This is premium." Premium. Such a beautiful word. It somehow convinces people that paying more money creates a protective shield around their brain cells. The thinking goes something like this: cheap alcohol equals suffering. Expensive alcohol equals smooth luxury. Apparently, your liver is supposed to look at the price tag and say, "Wow, $50? I'll process this one with extra care." Unfortunately, your body isn't impressed. Alcohol is still alcohol. Drink enough of it and your body still wakes up feeling like somebody rented out your head overnight for a construction project. Now sure, some drinks contain fewer compounds that can worsen hangovers, but people often miss the obvious problem. Expensive drinks create dangerous confidence. People sip one glass and suddenly become historians, financial experts, and amateur musicians. 5 glasses later, they're still explaining their brilliant ideas to strangers. Then morning shows up with the same message it always delivers. Your liver does not accept luxury memberships. 6. Cold showers don't instantly make you sober. Movies absolutely love this myth. Someone drinks too much, starts acting ridiculous, and immediately another character drags them into a bathroom. A few seconds later, ice-cold water hits their face, and suddenly they're standing there like a rebooted computer. Fresh, alert, completely fixed. Reality is slightly less dramatic. A cold shower definitely wakes you up. In fact, it wakes you up aggressively. Your body basically reacts by screaming internally, "Why are we under attack?" Your heart speeds up. Your brain becomes more alert. You suddenly feel like you've returned from the dead. But feeling awake isn't the same thing as becoming sober. Alcohol doesn't see cold water and panic. It doesn't grab a suitcase and run out of your bloodstream. The dangerous part is people suddenly feel better and think they've unlocked a cheat code. They step out of the shower feeling powerful, like they've completed some ancient ritual. Now they're ready to make important decisions again. Meanwhile, their coordination is still operating somewhere between sleepy raccoon and shopping cart with a broken wheel. Cold showers don't remove alcohol. They simply create the world's most confident drunk person. And history suggests confident drunk people usually become tomorrow's story. And just when you think humanity couldn't invent more alcohol wisdom, somehow it gets worse. 7. Mixing different alcohol colors isn't the real enemy. People love blaming colors. If someone has a terrible morning after drinking, you'll hear it immediately. "I shouldn't have mixed dark and light drinks." Dark drinks suddenly become villains in the story. They get treated like rival gangs entering the same neighborhood and starting trouble inside your stomach. You can almost imagine whiskey and vodka standing face to face inside your body like action movie enemies preparing for battle. But alcohol isn't sitting in there organizing team competitions. The bigger issue usually arrives much earlier in the night. It starts when people say things like, "I'm feeling great," or "I barely feel anything." Those words have historically led humanity into terrible situations. Because after that comes drink number 4, then number 6, then someone starts buying rounds for everyone, and suddenly mathematics disappears entirely. People often blame the combination because it's easier than admitting they consumed enough alcohol to temporarily become best friends with strangers in a bathroom line. The colors weren't plotting against you. You simply kept adding fuel and acted surprised when the fire became larger. 8. Strong alcohol doesn't warm your body in cold weather. This myth sounds old enough to have been passed down by men wearing giant coats in snowy cabins. Picture the scene. Freezing temperatures, heavy wind, snow everywhere, and somebody dramatically pulls out a bottle. Take a drink, they say confidently. It'll warm you up. Honestly, it feels true. After drinking strong alcohol, people often feel heat spreading through their chest and face. Suddenly, their body feels warmer and more comfortable. It's almost like turning up the thermostat, except your body is basically playing a prank on you. Alcohol actually causes blood vessels near your skin to open up. Warm blood moves closer to the surface, creating that cozy feeling. The problem? You're not creating extra heat. You're losing it. It's like opening every window in your house during winter, because the first few seconds feel refreshing. Your brain says, "Wow, this feels nice." Meanwhile, your body quietly whispers, "We're making terrible choices right now." Human beings have always loved feelings more than facts, and alcohol has been winning that argument for a very long time. 9. I'm bigger, so alcohol doesn't affect me. Is not a superpower. Every group has that person, the self-appointed alcohol champion, the human pickup truck, the one who leans back confidently and announces, "I'm a big guy, alcohol barely affects me." The statement is usually delivered with the confidence of a medieval king announcing victory before the battle even starts. Now sure, body size can affect alcohol differently, but some people hear this and immediately assume they've unlocked some biological cheat code. Suddenly they're treating drinks like free samples at a grocery store. You see the transformation happen in real time. Drink 1, normal conversation. Drink 3, louder conversation. Drink 6. Now they're explaining how they could probably survive in the wilderness with only a flashlight and positive thinking. Alcohol doesn't care about your confidence speech. Your body isn't standing there saying, "Well, this person weighs more, so the laws of biology no longer apply." The funny part is, these same people often become shocked when they wake up feeling terrible, because somewhere during the night, they confused being larger with being invincible. Human history contains many bad ideas. Thinking you're stronger than chemistry might be one of the classics. 10. Holding your breath won't fool anyone. This myth survives because humans desperately love shortcuts. At some point, somebody probably whispered, "Hold your breath" during the test, and suddenly, people treated it like forbidden secret knowledge passed down through generations. You can picture someone sitting there after drinking, preparing like they're entering an Olympic competition. Deep breath, serious face, complete concentration. They're acting like they trained for years in the mountains for this moment. The logic seems to be that somehow alcohol molecules will become confused and quietly disappear if you temporarily stop breathing. Unfortunately, your body isn't a magician's assistant. Alcohol isn't hanging around your mouth waiting for permission to leave. It's already traveling through your bloodstream doing exactly what it planned to do. The best part is imagining the confidence. Some people genuinely believe they've beaten science itself. Then reality arrives seconds later, like an unpaid bill. Because nothing destroys confidence faster than discovering your brilliant master plan had roughly the same success rate as hiding from a storm under a paper umbrella. Human beings really do love believing life comes with cheat codes. Unfortunately, biology rarely reads the script. 11. Drinking water. Between drinks doesn't make you immune. This myth started from something reasonable and somehow evolved into complete nonsense. Staying hydrated is helpful. Very normal advice, very sensible advice. Then humanity grabbed that small piece of truth and immediately turned it into superhero mythology. Now people act like drinking 1 glass of water magically creates an invisible shield around them. You'll see someone order 5 drinks and then proudly hold up a tiny bottle of water, like they've cracked the code of the universe. "I'm good," they say confidently. "My system is balanced." Balanced. As if alcohol and water are locked in some ancient battle inside the body, and the score is currently tied. Water can absolutely help with dehydration, but it doesn't erase alcohol. The drinks you already had don't suddenly vanish because you added a side quest. It's like eating salad beside a mountain of pancakes and announcing you've entered a health program. People hear useful advice and somehow upgrade it into fantasy. Because humans don't just want help, humans want magic. And if history teaches us anything, we'll believe almost anything if it sounds easier. 12. Sleeping doesn't fast-forward sobriety movies created this myth too. Somebody drinks way too much, collapses onto a couch, dramatic music plays, and then morning arrives. Suddenly they sit up perfectly refreshed. New day, new person, problem solved. Reality has a much darker sense of humor. Sleep doesn't place alcohol on pause while your body secretly works overtime. Your liver processes alcohol at its own speed, and your body isn't accepting urgent requests. You can't wake up halfway through the night and ask for faster service. Yet people still think sleep works like restarting a frozen computer. Just get some sleep. Simple, easy, fixed. Then morning arrives and your body responds with violence. Your mouth feels like sandpaper. Your head feels like tiny construction workers spent the night remodeling your skull. Even sunlight suddenly becomes your enemy. And then comes the terrifying moment when you remember every decision from the night before, because the hangover is bad enough. But remembering you passionately explained business ideas to strangers for 40 minutes? That's the kind of pain medicine hasn't solved yet. 13. Clear alcohol isn't automatically cleaner. Vodka has somehow built a reputation that feels almost magical. People look at clear alcohol and think, well, it looks clean. Which is interesting because by that logic, we should probably trust windshield cleaner too. Somehow, the brain sees a transparent drink and starts assigning it personality traits. Dark alcohol gets treated like the suspicious guy wearing sunglasses indoors. Clear alcohol walks in wearing a suit, and suddenly everyone assumes it's responsible. People convince themselves they're making smarter decisions. Oh no, they say, I'm drinking vodka tonight. As if they've switched from chaos mode to professional mode. Then, 3 hours later, they're standing in a kitchen discussing conspiracy theories with somebody they met 20 minutes ago. Alcohol has a funny way of humbling people. Because once enough drinks arrive, suddenly everyone's operating on the same level of strange logic. The bottle color never made anyone wise. People just enjoy believing they've selected the premium strategy. Human beings don't simply drink things. We create entire personalities around them. 14. I never get hangovers is usually temporary confidence. Some people say this with absolute pride. I don't get hangovers. Not sometimes. Not rarely. Never. The statement is delivered like they've received special powers from the alcohol gods themselves. Friends stare with admiration. Legends begin forming. Stories spread. Somebody probably starts introducing them at parties. This is Dave. Hangovers fear him. For a while, it might even seem true. Some people feel fine after nights that would emotionally destroy everyone else. But then time quietly enters the room. Time is very patient. Time doesn't argue. Time simply waits. Years later, the same person wakes up after 2 drinks feeling like they spent the night wrestling farm equipment. Suddenly, everything changed. Now they're drinking water at midnight and researching vitamins online like they're preparing for a survival expedition. The body eventually sends everyone the same message. It just chooses different delivery times. Because confidence is temporary. But biology always seems to collect its payment eventually. 15. I drink better with experience is dangerous logic. This might be one of humanity's favorite myths. People assume drinking works like learning guitar or cooking. The longer you do it, the better you become. Years pass, and suddenly people start talking like seasoned veterans. I know my limits. I've done this for years. I've got experience. Experience sounds impressive. Experience sounds responsible. Experience sounds like someone wearing sunglasses while slowly walking away from explosions in movies. But alcohol has a strange sense of humor. Sometimes experience doesn't create wisdom. Sometimes it creates confidence. And confidence can become weirdly dangerous because people stop paying attention. They stop noticing when they're tired, hungry, stressed, or drinking faster than usual. Everything feels routine until suddenly it isn't. Humans have always believed repetition makes us masters, But alcohol isn't a board game where you unlock special skills after enough practice. No matter how many years pass, chemistry still walks into the room and says, "That's adorable. Nice speech." Then it does whatever it was planning to do anyway. 16. Beer is basically liquid bread. Doesn't make it healthy. At some point, somebody looked at beer ingredients and thought they had discovered nutritional treasure. "Wait a second," they probably said. "Grains, water, yeast? That's practically food." And suddenly beer got promoted from drink to side dish. People started repeating things like, "Beer is basically liquid bread," with complete confidence, like they accidentally uncovered secret health knowledge hidden from society. Now imagine applying that same logic elsewhere. Sugar comes from plants, right? So candy is technically salad. See how quickly things start falling apart? Yes, beer contains ingredients used in food, but your body doesn't see a cold bottle arriving and think, "Wonderful, nutritional support has arrived." Yet people still convince themselves that a few drinks somehow count as dinner. You've seen it happen. Someone skips actual food because they say they're not hungry. Fast forward 2 hours and they're standing in front of a refrigerator at midnight, eating cold pizza while holding the door open like they're searching for life answers. Because eventually the body sends a message, and that message usually sounds like, "Please stop making weird decisions." 17. Walking around will sober me up. This myth appears after almost every party in human history. Someone stands up, looks slightly wobbly, and immediately announces their brilliant recovery plan. "I'm going to walk it off." Walk it off. The magical solution humanity also applies to injuries, sadness, embarrassment, and apparently alcohol. Suddenly, this person starts pacing around outside like they've entered a training montage in a sports movie. In their mind, movement equals progress. The logic is almost adorable. Maybe alcohol sees the extra activity and becomes intimidated. Maybe it notices determination and decides to leave. Unfortunately, biology isn't motivational. Your body isn't watching your effort and awarding bonus points. Alcohol isn't sweating and struggling to keep up while you power walk through a parking lot. If anything, walking just creates new opportunities for weird decisions, because drunk walking follows different laws of physics. Straight lines become optional, curbs become dangerous, simple stairs suddenly turn into ancient obstacles designed by evil architects. Walking around doesn't speed things up. It mostly gives drunk people the illusion that they're participating in their own rescue mission. 18. I can sweat it out in a sauna. Humans really love turning heat into medicine. Feel sick? Sweat it out. Feel tired? Sweat it out. Drank too much? Apparently we're sweating again. The idea sounds powerful too. Somebody imagines alcohol physically leaving the body through sweat like tiny escape artists running for freedom. Now picture this situation. A person who already made questionable decisions suddenly decides to sit inside a giant heated box. Because clearly the solution to one bad idea is adding another bad idea directly on top of it. Your liver processes alcohol. Your skin mainly processes regret and sweat. That's pretty much the situation. The problem is people feel exhausted afterward and mistake that feeling for success. They're sitting there completely drained saying things like, "I think it's working." No, your body is just wondering why it's suddenly participating in survival challenges. Humans have an incredible ability to confuse suffering with productivity. Sometimes feeling miserable doesn't mean progress happened. Sometimes it just means you voluntarily sat in a hot room while chemistry ignored you completely. 19. Strong people handle alcohol better. This myth usually starts in gyms. Somebody spends years building muscle, sees themselves in the mirror, and slowly develops dangerous confidence. Eventually, they start believing muscles somehow scare alcohol away. "I work out," they say proudly. As if alcohol takes one look and decides, "Absolutely not. I'm not messing with this guy." Now sure, body composition matters in some ways. But some people hear that and transform into biological superheroes inside their own heads. You see it happen all the time. Drink 1 arrives, then drink 3. Then suddenly they're explaining how they could survive a zombie apocalypse because they squat heavy weights twice a week. Strength is useful for moving furniture. Strength is useful for lifting things. Strength is unfortunately not a negotiation tactic with chemistry. Your muscles aren't standing guard protecting your brain from alcohol like tiny security guards. The body still processes everything the same way, because alcohol doesn't care how much you bench press, and chemistry remains completely unimpressed by gym memberships. 20. Throwing up gets rid of everything. This one has survived forever because people confuse partial damage control with total reset buttons. Someone drinks too much, disappears for a while, comes back looking exhausted, and suddenly announces, "I'm good now." Good now. Like they just deleted unwanted files from a computer. You almost admire the confidence. The thinking goes that if alcohol leaves the stomach, then everything is fixed. Problem solved. Fresh start. New beginning. Except alcohol doesn't spend the entire evening waiting politely inside your stomach. By the time someone reaches that point, a lot of it has already entered the bloodstream and started doing its work. Yet people emerge feeling strangely victorious. They act like warriors returning from battle, like they defeated the problem personally. Meanwhile, biology quietly sits in the background saying, "Oh, we're definitely continuing this tomorrow." Because sometimes people mistake surviving consequences for escaping them, and those are two very different things. 21. I feel fine, so I must be fine. This may actually be the king of all alcohol myths, because almost every other myth eventually leads here. Somebody drinks, time passes. They sit quietly for a minute and suddenly decide they've reached enlightenment. I actually feel fine. Dangerous words, very dangerous words, because alcohol has this strange talent for changing the exact thing people rely on to judge themselves. Imagine a broken ruler trying to measure itself. That's basically what's happening. The funny part is, everyone becomes an expert. Suddenly, people start performing personal evaluations. Walking seems normal. Talking seems normal. Thinking seems normal. Meanwhile, they're telling the same story for the third time and laughing at their own joke harder than anyone else in the room. Human beings naturally trust their own feelings. That's normal. But alcohol creates a situation where confidence sometimes rises while judgment quietly takes the night off. And history contains thousands of stories that started with the sentence, "I felt completely fine." Very few of those stories ended with, "and then everything became incredibly responsible." 22. Alcohol helps you sleep better. This myth exists because alcohol is incredibly good at creating misleading first impressions. Someone drinks a few glasses, sits on the couch, and suddenly their eyelids become heavy. 10 minutes later, they're asleep, before the movie even reaches the interesting part. Case closed, right? Alcohol clearly helps sleep. Except that's like saying a car works perfectly because it started moving downhill. Yes, you may fall asleep faster. That's the part people notice. But your body is doing weird things behind the scenes while you're happily unconscious. Instead of smooth, quality rest, your brain often spends the night operating like a confused employee working overtime without instructions. You've probably seen the results. People wake up after supposedly sleeping 8 hours and somehow feel worse than before. Their eyes feel heavy. Their brain feels slow. Coffee suddenly becomes less of a beverage and more of an emergency support system. The cruel part is that people trust the first 5 minutes, because falling asleep feels amazing. Meanwhile, the rest of the night quietly turns into a workplace disaster nobody remembers attending. 23. Drinking only on weekends doesn't count. Humans have always loved negotiating with reality, and this myth sounds exactly like somebody trying to bargain with biology. "I don't drink much," they say confidently. "Only weekends." Only weekends, like Saturday and Sunday, somehow exist in a separate universe where normal rules take vacations too. You can almost imagine calendars joining the conspiracy. Monday through Friday, serious business. Saturday, absolute chaos permission activated. People say it with complete confidence too. They act like they discovered legal loopholes inside human biology. But your body isn't looking at calendars. Your liver isn't sitting there checking dates and saying, "Oh good, weekend activity, completely different situation." The funny thing is, weekends also have strange powers over human decision-making. One drink becomes two, two becomes four. Then suddenly someone's ordering food for everybody and explaining why they should all take a road trip someday. Humans love measuring habits by frequency. Bodies often care more about total damage. because chemistry remains deeply uninterested in what day it happens to be. 24. Older people handle alcohol better. Age creates confidence. People survive enough awkward situations, enough mistakes, enough embarrassing moments, and eventually begin believing experience turned them into experts. The same thing happens with alcohol. Some people assume years automatically create immunity. "I'm older now," they say proudly. "I know how to drink." Now sure, experience helps people avoid certain bad decisions, but alcohol has an interesting sense of humor, because bodies don't exactly become younger during this process. The strange part is, people often feel smarter while biology quietly starts changing the rules behind the scenes. The body processes things differently over time. Recovery changes, energy changes. Suddenly, one night out requires what feels like 3 business days for maintenance and repairs. Yet confidence often stays exactly the same. That's where the comedy begins, because the brain still remembers being 25. Meanwhile, the body wakes up feeling like it got hit by furniture. Human beings age in a fascinating way. Mentally, we stay young forever. Physically, reality occasionally sends reminder letters. 25. Eating greasy food cures hangovers. Humanity has turned greasy food into emotional support. After rough nights, people suddenly begin talking about cheeseburgers and fries like they're ancient healing medicine. Someone wakes up looking terrible and immediately announces, "I need greasy food." Need, not want, need. Like doctors secretly prescribe bacon and onion rings in emergency situations, the ritual happens everywhere. People slowly walk into diners looking exhausted, wearing sunglasses indoors like movie stars escaping scandals. Then they order enough food to feed several people. And for a while, it actually feels better, which is exactly why this myth survived. Food can absolutely help people feel better, but greasy food isn't entering your body carrying tiny tools and repairing damage. Mostly it's giving comfort, and comfort is powerful, because humans don't always want solutions. Sometimes we just want warm food and hope. Although, to be fair, warm food and hope have carried humanity through many difficult moments, just maybe not in magical ways. 26. Alcohol makes you more honest. People love saying this one. Drunk words or sober thoughts. Sounds deep. Sounds wise. Sounds like something carved onto old stone walls by philosophers. But reality is usually much stranger. Alcohol absolutely lowers filters. People become louder, more emotional, and sometimes weirdly confident. But lowering filters doesn't automatically unlock hidden truth mode. If that were true, late-night conversations would sound very different. Instead, you get people crying about cartoons, passionately discussing sandwich ingredients, or suddenly announcing plans to buy boats despite having absolutely no boating experience. Alcohol doesn't always reveal secret truth. Sometimes it simply reveals whatever random thought happened to enter the room first. Human brains already produce weird ideas every day. Most of us simply keep them locked inside. Alcohol occasionally opens the doors and says, "Come on out, everybody." And that's how somebody ends up sincerely explaining why pigeons might secretly judge humans. 27. I've been fine before, so I'll be fine again. This is probably the final boss of alcohol myths, because almost every bad decision eventually arrives here. People survive something once and immediately start treating luck like scientific evidence. I've done this before. I was fine. I know what happens. Those words have started countless terrible stories, because humans love patterns. We naturally assume yesterday guarantees tomorrow. If something worked 10 times, surely number 11 is safe too, right? Except reality doesn't sign contracts. Bodies change, situations change, sleep changes, stress changes. Even small things can completely change outcomes. Yet confidence has an incredible ability to ignore all of that. The mind starts saying, "We've survived before." Meanwhile, reality quietly stands in the background holding a surprise plot twist. Human beings often confuse surviving risks with controlling risks, and those are very different things, because luck has a funny habit. It lets people feel smart right before disappearing. Still trust alcohol myths? Vote for humanity's favorite bad idea below.